Here in Florence, South Carolina, there's a special pride that arises when recognizing a service member who sacrificed for our country. Here in the PD region, many families and businesses uplift words of praise and encouragement to those men and women who served our country and to those families who lost a loved one in the line of duty. In this production, several of those individuals are speaking out with a loud voice to show us how we should honor Memorial Day and why they left their present reflections. Many have fallen, but they are not forgotten.
Being here every day and living in the community, which some cemeteries don't have people that live, in a tight-knit community. We get to know the families here. There's lots of times where there's a grieving spouse, all they want is a hug. And we have that one-on-one interaction with them. It's not something I ever expected. I tell people in a million years I never would have thought I'd be working in the cemetery, coming from aircraft maintenance. Above all, it really is an honor that people trust you to take care of their loved ones, their final resting place, and to give them a dignified resting place. It's kind of interesting today that I've taken, and this is just today, a different perspective on it. I was asked last year to do a little speech at our church about what Memorial Day means, and I went over, the original proclamation of Memorial Day and who did it and what it meant at the time and how many of our service members were killed in all of the conflicts leading up until now, and kind of explained that it's important for our children to understand what service members have done for their freedom, for everyone's freedom, and moving forward. Since then, I've had someone that I served with commit suicide.
I honor my father, who was a veteran also. I bought a brick with his name, and my name is right beside him, Robert H. Jones Sr. and Robert H.
Memorial Day is a time where we just take a moment to remember everyone, every soldier that has dedicated their lives to our country and to our freedom, and all the sacrifices that were made during those times.
I think people get a little confused with Memorial Day and Veterans Day, especially around Memorial Day. Everybody asks for or tells us thank you for our service, which is nice, but it's not. It's to remember the fallen. I lost a buddy very close to me. It's just a day of remembrance for me. So.
My biggest thing is when I see anybody with a uniform on, I walk up to them, male, female, young or old, veteran's hat, whatever. I make sure I recognize them and tell them how much I appreciate what they've done. They're the ones who are still standing and still walking, and they're the ones who've seen people die, and they've counted the cost for freedom. They've seen what happens.
I had a friend that was in my squadron, and matter of fact, he lived in New York, and he was kind of like a brother to me. And a lot of things, he was a little older than I was, but a lot of things he gave me advice by being young. You thought you knew everything, but by him being older and had more experience, he gave me some advice that I can remember today. And
I always say, if you're a veteran, say thank you for your service. and you'll hear thank you back. It's important that you understand this. Many veterans have served and still are serving. I say that to them. I said, thank you for your service. And they'll say, thank you for yours. I said, I didn't do an awful lot, but I did something. And they'll say, are you sure this is what you wanted to do in life? I said, it was. I made a commitment to a person that was in the family, and I felt like his family needs to know that I appreciate everything he did. I know he went to Europe during World War II. I had an uncle that was flown B-29s, and you stop and think, there's a lot of them that was tank drivers. You got a lot of them that was foot soldiers. But many of them will tell you, I don't want to talk about it. The only thing I ever ask from a person, if it's a veteran, where they took their basic, where they took their extra training, and what countries they lived in. I didn't say anything about war because a lot of them have experienced a lot of bad things, and they've gone through an awful lot, and I understand this, and I just don't know how to tell you any different. Remember, a soldier puts his life on the line so that freedom is not cheap. It never will be cheap as long as we have men and women that are willing to sacrifice.
It should be to give the gratitude and the appreciation for the people that had to give the ultimate sacrifice. And there's a lot of them out there. And sometimes we just need to stop and think about that. You know, I mean, somebody had to do it, and they stepped up and they did it. Some of them didn't return, and we need to appreciate what they did do for us.
So we try to make sure that, myself especially, but I try to make sure that my employees make sure they speak to those guys or those ladies and let them know how much we appreciate them. And it makes a big difference. And I think they appreciate that. And, you know, because a lot of times there's been bad connotations a year ago that people said rough things to people, but today I think more people really understand that there's a price to have a free country like we do. And so many people, we've got 4 or 5 veterans that work in the store. So, you know, we always make sure they understand how much we appreciate them. So it's a give and take thing. We make sure that we know that we appreciate them. If we can help them with whatever we can, we do.
You know, how closely knit we were, you know, because that's your family. And that's the way we know you got a band of brothers. That's what we are. And we not just while we're in there for the military. Once we get out, we never lose sight of those guys. Every time I go down the short of the commissary, I'm always looking for guys that I served with, and I always run into somebody. Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Man, you still looking good. But I've lost a lot of good friends, you know, that passed on, the older sergeants and officers that I knew. You know, they've gone on.
I have had some friends that have passed away, you know, in the few past, and it's not an easy thing to think about sometimes. You know, and I understand how some of the veterans and all get, you know, some of the things that we've seen, the tragedies that we've seen, and not necessarily always just in war. You know, sometimes it wasn't even in war. Sometimes it was in peacetime that something happened, you know, that just stuck in your mind for the rest of your life, you know. And that's the reason we have like the Vet Center here, to be able to talk to the veterans that go through things like this, you know, and it's very helpful.
This program, as far as I know, started very recent. They're giving the first 240 people come in and get flagged, 1 per person, 1 per family. And it's just really something that ACE is trying to do to give people that real appreciation of how people lost their lives and given their lives for the country, and they want to give those people an opportunity to have a flag and just be a real tribute to those who have passed away in life and given their lives for the country. So ACE is good about that.
On Memorial Day, just take a moment to first and foremost thank God. Thank God for making able bodies that are willing to serve and to protect our freedom. Take a moment to think about your neighbor or someone at a local store. You never know. Just thank a veteran, truth be told, because you never know what that veteran or his family had to go through. And take a moment in remembrance for everyone who gave their life in that sacrifice.
But remember, when you go to the national cemeteries, look at some of the stones. You'll see things that you say, that can't be true, but it is. When I told my son about the Jews during World War II, he thought I was joking. And then he finally found out I wasn't lying. I told the truth. And now he knows why there are so many was sacrificed. Believe you me, the war memorials that if you get a chance to go to Washington, D.C., you will see many things and many monuments that you don't think they care. But we've had many, many soldiers. They do care. They care a lot. So just remember, the next time you run into a soldier and he says, thank you, remember, he's saying it from the bottom of his heart because he believes in it. Anytime you come across a soldier, just tell him, is there any way I can help you? Help goes a long ways regardless of how you look at it. Many soldiers were taken for granted. They've had places where people just didn't want people going to war. War is not the thing that a lot of them want. There's not much I can do about that. But be thankful that you live in a free country that you can say, I can vote for whoever I want. I can go to church wherever I want to go, and nobody can say I can't do it. I don't know what else I can tell you. Be thankful that you watch this program. I'm just one of many